and welcome back to Scrap with Penny. I'm not sure if I'm going to tack this onto the haul video or if it's going to be its own video, but I did want to go ahead and go over what I had accomplished during my crop time at Cropping in the Kingdom over the weekend leading up to Labor Day. So right off the bat, I'll tell you that I initially thought I would go over with pictures and cardstock for 20 pages. But then I realized that Friday we didn't start until 11 and Monday we finished at 5. And so I backed off of my count and I went over with pictures for 16 of these layouts. So that'd be 32 pages left and right. I realized when I went to put the first one together that I had made a fatal flaw and it would haunt me all weekend. I went over with paper with branding strips and this was the trimmer I had. And so one of my girlfriends, Jess, I was there with my girlfriends Jess and Michelle. Jess loaned me her Tim Holtz trimmer, but it was a swing out arm and I just wasn't very good at being precise. I probably should have taken a piece of mint tape. All that to say, I was able to get them cut, but when you go through it, you're going to see some gaps. I'm going to have to do haircuts on a lot of them. So what you're seeing is unfinished and raw, and I'm going to take them out of the page protectors before I show them. So I'm going to pause the video, but I wanted you to see. This is the bulk. This is the body of work, and I took these page protectors over so they would be protected on the way home. And I mentioned in my haul video that TSA checked my bag, and you can see here where this is page protector is ruined now, and that is kind of damaged. I'm not going to redo it. I just don't really know what was going on. I took a gamble putting these into a bag I was sending under on the way home. I usually don't do that, but you know, hindsight's 2020. Okay, so I talked about this mistake. All of my papers were 6x6 or 6x8. I did take a 12x12 piece of paper for my black and my stripe, and my stripe is 1/4, so I just cut it on the quarter, or I guess that's right here. And then when I was cutting the black, I just brought my black to the edge of this, and so it's more than 1/8 and less than 1/4. I'm also going to say, I forgot this part, this blade needs replaced. So I don't know why that's sticking out. That seems odd. A lot of my black is fuzzy, and it's again something I'm going to have to live with. So that's the overview. Let me take these out and I'll be back. Okay, so this is my packing list, which I shared in my crop prep video, and then this is my Disney trip recap Trello note that I went ahead and printed out, and then on the back are the 16 trips that I took with me. So they've all got dates, and the nice thing is that I started at July 2025 and worked backward, and then for some variety I went to 2, 4, 5 older trips. So I did all of 23, all of 24, and 2025 to date, and then 5 special older trips where it was a time we ran a 5K at Epcot with some friends. It was the first July 4th with Mary Beth with us. It was our first visit to Polly, and it was Philip's senior year trip. And then I don't know why that one says 50th, because the 50th was not in 2014. But anyway, so this is my list. I couldn't find this while I was there at all to save my soul. And that's okay too, because I ended up not doing any journaling. So my plan while I was there was to do my overview pages. I could triage some photos, I could organize digital supplies, I could work on my Trello Disney, and I could triage the photos. But I also had thought that I would type the journaling up as I went along. But to be honest, when I'm at a crop, I'm focused on having fun and being near, enjoying the people around me. Because if I just want to work, I can do that at home. So here's July 2025. You can see here where this is off a smidge. So I'll give this a haircut. This will be a journal block on every one of these. I'm not going to say this every time. Journal block here, usually a quote down here. Title goes up here. And then I do some stickers, some stamp sentiments, and some Mickey heads. I finished taping all of these down Sunday night. And I thought when I went in there Monday morning, I would move on to the next step in these, but it just turned out to be really an overwhelming day. Full disclosure, my brother-in-law died while we were in Florida, and I knew that Tuesday morning I was flying home to go straight to Tyler for his funeral. And I think by Monday I had kind of held myself together and tried to stay in the moment and not feel guilty for doing something so frivolous while my sister was saying goodbye to her husband. And you know, she told me to go and to have her blessings. All that to say, if I didn't get any farther on these, I'm okay with that. You know, there are other things going on in the world. So this is my standard format: 2 4x4s, 3x3, 3x3, 2 3x4s, and a 4x6. I always have my 4x6 be pictures of who's there, and then I like to pull in boarding passes, resort photos, resort details. Sometimes I do the room number, weather, and then resort pictures. So this is really like the overarching look at the trip and helping me distinguish when did we do that, where did we stay, who was there. That's kind of what these are for. So this is July 2025, and these are all 2x3, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And then this is 6, and then this is 6. And then, like I said, this is a 1/4 inch, this is a little less than a 1/4, and I had previously stitched on these. I'm not going to stitch on these anymore because these are probably going to be thrown away when I'm dead and gone. And that's okay too. They're for me. So then the second, I'm not showing, I don't know what order I did them in. It doesn't matter. But I'm going most recent trip to, and see, this is one that got really messed up by TSA. If I wanted to, I could chop that off and reapply it. I don't care. But again, this is one that's going to need a haircut. And this was April of 25. And this was Flower and Garden. This was us marking 20 years of going to Disney. And our daughter-in-law and son were able to join us. So 20 years after we had a party for 4, we had a party for 4 again. Stayed at the same resort where it all started. This was a great sentimental trip, and I love all the trips. I do. Some of them are more special than others. Anytime our kids get to go with us, that makes it more special. But I mean, look at the beating this took. Oh gosh, so unfortunate. Oh well, let it go, let it go. This one will need to be trimmed, and I think this one too. Look, so whenever you're working in a situation like this and you think something's off, you know, get one side of it right, and then you can trim the other. And that, I mean, that's kind of my MO. I've said many times, 12 by 12 paper is not always 12 by 12, and so. But I do feel pretty good about each of these being 2 inches wide. I will say, when I got there Friday and set up, the first thing I did was I trimmed all of my pictures. I took this photo trimmer with me, and I had this piece of mint tape, and I lined it up, and I would bump all of my pictures up against it on one cut direction, and then another. So I knew by that method that all of my pictures were trimmed precisely the same, and I think that's important when you're trying to line things up, especially when it's a manual kind of collage. Okay, so this is a great itinerary for any kind of trip, but it's something I do for the Disney. I'm not going to stress about getting these finished. I think when I have time in my creation calendar, because my primary concern every month, first of all, is filling my calendar for content and then coming back and filling in the gaps. And we have another trip planned at the end of October. So until I'm focused on getting content prepped for all of that, so that while we're gone, things will still publish. And these are the kinds of things I could lay all these out on my kitchen island. I could get my Mickey punch and just punch methodically. I was aware as I was going along what I had done on the previous page, since these are chronological, because I don't want any repeats. So you can see I always do black, yellow, white, red, black, blue, red, white, yellow. So that's always the formula. I just pick different patterns. And these papers you're seeing are Simple Stories, Echo Park, and some of them are also Doodlebug. Like this right here is Doodlebug Play at the Park. And the reason why I know that is because theirs is more of an aqua, and Echo Park and Simple Stories is more of a light blue. There's a couple of times when I use some LE Studio, and if I remember, I'll point that out. I was on track on my 16, and I've at the end of the day, I decided I would rather get all the pictures taped down and get them secured, and then I can come back, because I don't like to deal with a lot of printed out pictures. And see here, this extends over. It just all needs a haircut. I'll just do a lot of hair cutting. And oh, this is Doodlebug too. This is the very first Simple Stories line, Say Cheese, because it had that grunge look to it. So I just tried to variegate if I had stars and polka dots. So if I did stars here, I didn't want to do stars here. And if I did polka dots here, I didn't want to do polka dots here. So I think honestly, the longest it took me each time was picking out my papers, being mindful that I wanted the variegation and I wanted it to match with each other and not mimic the page before it. So this is still 2024. So everything you've seen so far would go into an album next to one another, which is why I was more concerned about things not matching. So yeah. I think we're out of the zone of TSA damaged edges. This is January of 24, and fast pass or park reservation screenshots. So this is Cartabella, and I think this might also be Cartabella. This is LE Studio, and this is Doodlebug. My friend Michelle just helped me with the trimmer, and my friend Michelle, she saw my crop prep video and she was driving, and so she brought a mat, and it was so helpful that she had it. But one thing I struggled with was getting things to line up, and I was trying to do it as a double, and then it wasn't working, and so then I got to where I would just do this, like I would do one side and then I would come over and line it up. Now again, I always say there's a gutter, there's going to be 3 rings in between this, and so if it doesn't match up down here, I mean, so be it. It's not the end of the world. But it was a little bit more of a challenge to do this on the road than I thought it would be, if I'm quite honest. I should have cut all these in advance. I didn't I started to do it here and I thought, no, do it over there to give you some variety, but I should have streamlined and just knocked them all out. And then I wouldn't be worried about them being fuzzy because my blade on that trimmer is dull. These match up pretty good. I think I started at 2025 and I worked my way backwards. So by this time, I think I had figured out to, to go like this. When I put it together, I start with this picture and then build this way and then build down and then build up. And then on my paper, it's this little black strip is going to cover up any errors here. So I just tried to go even at the top, then with my stripe. And then over here, I would get this picture to line up with this one and then build this way, this way, this way. So it took me a little bit to get a rhythm over there on the road, but I think I got it going. This all, I don't know what it is. Mix of Simple Stories in Echo Park. I thought it was all going to be simple stories, but see, big gap here. I'm not going to get hung up if I have to trim it down and it's 11 7/8 or something, because it'll go in an album and there'll be a white layout behind it. So if I did repeat a polka dot pattern, I tried to get it in different sizes. So this is very small, this is medium, and this is extra large, and this is I don't know, this is about the same size, but it's random. I was okay with this being next to one another because the patterns don't look identical. And I think between all the papers, there's 3 ticket patterns. I liked all the ticket patterns. And then there's a couple of black word papers. I think this is the one I use the most. This is a good little blue pattern, but it was only in one paper pad, and I don't think I have any of it left. So I showed y'all my paper pattern, my paper pad storage in the crop video, and it's these little containers, and I rip them apart and I sort them by color. So I would look through, reds, look through whites, look through blacks, and pull out the patterns that I liked. This one is one of my favorites. I'll tell you, yellow is the hardest one to find. I don't know why. And the reds aren't identical in tone, but I think that's okay too. This is when Tron opened up. This is April 2023. It's just fireworks. Nothing spectacular. It's not like it's July 4th. This is when we stayed in the new rooms at Grand Floridian, the remodel. Those rooms are gorgeous. Okay. We'll often do a split stay, and this is a split stay between Grand Floridian and Port Orleans, and I'm pretty sure this is right. So what we did, it's coming back to me. What we did was we stayed at Port Orleans before we got on the cruise, the Disney Wish. And then after we got back from the cruise, we came back to the parks and did some more time, and that's why we're at this hotel. But I chose to treat this as one trip, even though there were 3 days on the ship in between. Isn't this a great shot? I love this shot, sunset at Epcot. This is one of the prettiest picture spots. There's something on the picture I'm rubbing. Okay, and the little gingham is nice. It comes in the red, the yellow, and the blue. It also comes in black, I think. I don't ever pick it. This is that LA Studio again. So here I'll just come down, trim it up. I'll probably do that next. That'll be the next step I do, is what I'm saying. And here, this will be covered up by the journal block. This is when we did our 5K. Those buses started running at 3:30 in the morning. I have pictures of us standing in the very dark parking lot at Epcot in our corral waiting for the guns to go off. But I ran my race in a tutu. Not everybody can say that. I'm feeling adhesive on these things as I touch them. Okay, this was a really sweet trip because the kids drove down, spent some time with us. This is my husband looking at me completely exasperated. I like to stop and take pictures, and he's like, come on, girl. And the carriage was out. That's not always the case. This is the old FastPass system, FastPass Plus, and not the Genie Plus World, which I guess debuted in 2024. I'm not a fan of it. I don't have a choice. So here's this one. Okay, so this is going back. So 2023, 2024, and 2025 are all done. And then I've got, well, also the one with the kids. Okay, let me say all this again. These are my 5 older trips. So this is 2017. And then this is 2016. And then this is 2015. This was the first time we went over for July 4th, which I've shared before is our anniversary, and that's why we were gaga to go. This was 2014. This was my 50th birthday trip, and Osborne Family Spectacle of Lights no longer happens. Magical Express, gone. Gingerbread House, not coming up this year. Maybe it'll come back. I don't know. They're shoving that bar into the Grand Floridian lobby. But Mom and I actually scrapbooked. We got a 1-bedroom villa. We all stayed in one room, and we scrapbooked at the kitchen table. And that was such a sweet, sweet memory. And look, she's so happy. She weighs a lot less now. Once my dad died, she didn't have to cook all the time, and she didn't eat, and so she's probably lost about 50 pounds over 7 years. Good times, good times. And then this is the last one, and it's also kind of banged up. And this is Philip's senior year. He wanted to go after his both boys picked to go for a trip after their senior year. And it was interesting because we didn't fly nonstop. We went through Birmingham. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, I got to throw that in there because, you know, anymore we won't go unless it's nonstop. This is the old FastPass system where you had the tickets spit out at you. And then look, Be Our Guest was brand new, and you had you had to get a FastPass to go. It's kind of crazy. So those are the pages I got done. Like I said, the next thing I'll do is go and trim all the ones up that need to be trimmed. So you can see this needs to be trimmed. There's no fixing these corners. So, but I'm pleased. 16 vacations, 32 pages. That's not chump change because we shopped, we ate. One day I wasn't feeling well. I took a nap. Another day I went to Magic Kingdom for popcorn. So it was a nice pace of a crop. The venue was just spectacular. I mean, anytime you can run out and watch fireworks or the monorails whizzing by, I think that's just a little bit of extra magic. So definitely there were lots of distractions, but for myself, I did a good balance of being productive, visiting with my friends, enjoying the atmosphere. So probably the next step I would do, the thought of journaling 16 trips, just that kind of makes me not excited. So I'm not going to focus on that, but I might work on punching my Mickeys and my stamping my sentiments, and then of course getting them trimmed up. So thanks for coming along and seeing what I got done on the crop. Man, there was one girl that was doing digital that was one table this way from me, and I think they said she got like over 100 pages done. That's just cruel to say to us paper scrappers. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so many. But I was pleased with the amount of supplies I took. I know next time, trim off any branding strips, you know, anything that needs a 12-inch trimmer, plan on that at home. This is a very good on the road project because I had to think about what could I do that I wouldn't want to film. And y'all don't want to see me put together 16 of these. Boring. So this was a good task, and guess what? I've got more I can do. I just don't have any travel crops on the books. So the ladies behind me were talking about a Mary Poppins crop in Louisiana in March, and I was like, Mary Poppins. I could get into that. So, but I can't figure out how they know it's Mary Poppins because I went to the site and they're focused on a September crop. So I am traveling to the Simple Stories crop in October, but that is more of a class event where we're going to be given things to cut and put together, and I don't plan on taking any pictures in advance because I'm coming home from that trip, and the next day I'm getting on a plane to Italy, and so I'm just trying to balance out enjoying that and getting ready for the next big adventure. So okay, that is all I have on this. Drop me any questions you have and tell me, would you be interested in doing some kind of trip overview like this? I think it's a real good format, and it's worked well for me. So I hope that you had some fun watching the sharing of this, and as always, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. I'll be back soon with more layouts, videos, and a little stash busted magic. So please come back and crop with me. Until next time, happy scrapping, and remember, this is where paper meets story. Bye-bye.